Before we begin, this episode refers to child sexual abuse. It contains strong language and language some listeners may find offensive. After the family meeting with Sussex Police in June 2021, everyone feels despondent. I'm not quite sure what to do now that all the new information I've discovered has been so comprehensively rejected. The police told the family and me that the links to the men who were abusing at the boarding school in Sussex are not a viable line of inquiry, partly because they believe that these men groomed boys in their care.
They had no need to abduct a child from the street, and there is no information or intelligence that suggests otherwise.
That seems pretty difficult to argue with if the police are saying there's absolutely nothing to show that any of these men took children they didn't know in their car, so therefore they don't think they could be involved in Vishal's disappearance. But as our team continue to research here, my series producer Satyesh discovers something that the police seem to have missed about one of the men in that very same group of paedophiles.
I've literally just done a newspaper archive search of local newspapers in West London, and two stories have come up with Russell, naming James Anthony Russell. It's October 1976. They give the street that he lives on.
That's a street in Ealing, West London.
And they talk about him picking up boys in his car. Russell, unemployed, was jailed at Middlesex Crown Court in March for 3 years for indecently assaulting two boys he'd picked up in his car and taken back to his flat. A previously suspended 18-month sentence was also brought into effect. The judges said that Russell had a record of repeated homosexual acts against boys. The judge added, "When he is at liberty, boys are not safe."
That's extraordinary, isn't it? That's dynamite. That means he's somebody who actively goes out onto the streets in his car to pick kids up off the street.
No, it's shocking and different to what Sussex Police have said to the family.
I'm Colin Campbell. From BBC Studios, this is Vishal. The story of a boy who went missing while the world looked the other way. The story of his family and the story of our investigation into Vishal's disappearance. Chapter 8. The Fourth Man. After Vishal Mehrotra's remains were discovered in 1982, Sussex Police claimed to have identified 195 sex offenders in the south of England and interviewed 163 of them. Two members of the paedophile group who'd been abusing at the school in Sussex, James Russell and another man on the periphery called Sidney Blaney, already had convictions by this point. Did the police talk to them? They won't tell us. In fact, they won't tell us anything. It's an impasse, and it's maddening. In the meantime, I go back to my day job on the BBC South East News, and in my spare time, I continue to do the one thing that's got me some results, despite what the police might say, and that's searching for other survivors of the abuse committed by Nicholas Douglas and his friends, in the hope they may be able to shed light on what was happening at the time Vishal disappeared in 1981. The survivors we've already heard from are as shocked as I am that Sussex Police seem satisfied to just believe what Nicholas Douglas and his friends told them, that they know nothing about Vishal's murder, seemingly without looking into it much further. Some try to help, suggesting old school friends from 40 years ago and where they might be and what they might know. Many I track down don't want to talk. These men have been unable to access any meaningful psychological help after the brutally difficult trial in the mid-1990s that put Douglas and his co-abusers behind bars. And so understandably, they just don't want to open up that awful place in their minds again. A couple of others have gained a reputation for violence and becoming potential abusers themselves, and I'm warned off contacting them. But I desperately need to speak to someone who knew Douglas really well, who could tell me what they recall of his behaviour at the time Vishal disappeared. It's slow, difficult work. But then I have a breakthrough. So I'm on my way to a town in the southeast of England to meet a man who's in his mid-50s, and I understand he has a key bit of information for me. Now, he was abused by Nicholas Douglas in the 1980s, and he is and was one of Nicholas Douglas's favourites. So he was a child who Douglas paid a great deal of attention to, groomed, took him away on holidays, but also sexually abused him for a long period of time. He does appear to have a very important piece of information, and I'm going to go and see if I can get him to say that piece of information on the record. This man was an important witness at the trial that put the school abusers in prison, but the process left him broken. We spend a long time just talking, and eventually he agrees to record a vital piece of information because he thinks it could help.
It was late 81, early 82. I was at home with my parents. I think it was in the hallway.
Of your home?
Yeah.
You're in the hallway?
Yeah.
Douglas has just turned up.
Yeah.
What does he say? How did he say
He said it silent. He said it quite silently because you don't. He said to me, there's been a friend of mine he's in some very, very, very serious trouble. He's done something very seriously wrong. I said to him, what was that about? He said, I can't talk about it. It's seriously, could be in some serious bother. His friend could be in some serious, very, very serious bother, trouble. And that's all I got.
How sure are you of this, of what he said?
Well, I know. You know, what was said was said.
I need to take this seriously because this particular abuse survivor was so carefully groomed as a boy that he ended up becoming very emotionally close to Nicholas Douglas, something that haunts him to this day. But it meant Douglas trusted him and would tell him things.
I was entrusted. I loved him, he loved me, thought the world of me. We were just inseparable. He totally entrusted me with everything. But he said, I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it.
Just to be clear, you didn't mention this particular comment that Douglas had made to you, to the police in the 1990s when they were investigating Muntham?
No, because it was nothing to do with this, and the police weren't investigating it, they were investigating this. The three men who were involved.
Later on, this witness texts me to add something else. The trouble he mentioned was so serious, according to Douglas, that whoever it was could have gone to prison. So just to be clear, we have a person who was very trusted being told by him that one of Douglas's friends had done something so serious they may end up in prison. The witness told me this happened at the end of 1981, which is in that crucial 7-month period after Vishal had disappeared, but before his remains were discovered in Sussex. I call up Sean and Jackie, our 2 former police detective advisors.
This was the sort of thing that I wanted Sussex Police to go out and do, go and talk to people and bring out what was happening at the time. Because you, as we now know, you don't know what you're going to find until you go and ask.
Did that boy tell Sussex Police? Did he tell the police that? What Douglas told him?
No.
So that is new information then, Colin. New information.
Another bit of new information I've discovered is that Russell and Douglas were so close that when James Russell came out of prison for abusing boys he had found on the street, Douglas gave him a false reference to help him get a job in another school. Douglas was caught and fined £200. Amazingly, this didn't get him sacked from his job at the boarding school. But it makes me wonder whether the friend who was in serious bother is Jim Russell. It's time to pay Douglas another visit.
I'm just really keen, Nick, for your help. And I'm really keen to find out more about Jim Russell. Jim Russell was somebody who would pick children up off the street, yeah?
Occasionally, yeah. No, it wasn't always the case, Colin. I think, he did it at his places of work, mainly. He did get them off the street occasionally. But when I knew him, it was to do with places he'd worked at.
Let's just pause here. This is the first time I've had information that even though I only know of one conviction Russell had for taking children from the street, he did it more often than that.
The summer term of 75, he borrowed the school van because he didn't have a car of his own during the holidays at the end of the summer term. And I do remember a case when he'd been to the Pearly open air swimming pool or something and was chatting to kids or whatever. And the security people got a bit iffy and he had to jump over a wall and get away from them. He hadn't done anything on that occasion, but he was talking to boys that he didn't know and with suspicions of the security people at the baths.
He was a risk taker then?
Oh, yeah. He used to think he could get away with things, far more than I ever did. He used to give me the willies, quite frankly.
Do you ever remember a time when Jim actually told you about an occasion when he had perhaps picked boys up in a car, though?
Well, he was very brazen. He was charming. And he used that charm, and he'd just go up and think nothing of chatting to kids quite sort of casually, and he had a charming personality, and that's how they probably followed him Pied Piper style, I mean, yes, he did use his car for those purposes, definitely.
This is so different from how Sussex police seem to imagine the paedophile group worked and what they've told Vishal's family that it feels like a gaping hole in their investigation, and it seems more important than ever to track Russell down.
Have you got any idea where he is at the moment?
No idea where he is, where he went. It was the police who told me they thought he'd done a runner, but I didn't know anything about it. He had plans to go to India, and he'd made all these tapes of English language tapes for children. He was going to go out there with the idea of setting up some sort of school or working in a school to do English language thing, and he wanted me to go with him. That was the last time I saw him.
Why did he want you to go with him?
Why did he want me to go with him? Because he knew I was interested in what he was interested in.
So he had the same kind of interests as you then? Asian boys? Indian boys?
Yeah.
Skinny Indian boys?
Yeah.
I've also got something else vitally important that I need to ask Nicholas Douglas. The information given to me by the abuse survivor he formed his closest bond with.
Something you told him, late 1981. He told me that you told him that one of your friends had done something very, very bad and that he was going to go to prison for a very long time. And he tried to get out of you who it was and what they'd done, but you would not tell him.
What? I don't know what he's talking about.
Because it was the way you said it to him, and it wasn't about child sexual abuse. It was about something very, very bad happening.
If you're trying to link me with that murder, and so no, and no again. Absolutely not.
So, Douglas says he doesn't know what his former favourite child is talking about. However, what he has given me is confirmation that both him and Russell were interested in Asian children. So interested that Russell even tried to get Douglas to go to India with him to pursue their common interest. But when an Asian boy is discovered dead virtually on their doorstep, they were massively indifferent to the news.
It did not register with me at the time that both remains had been discovered close to my home.
According to Douglas, he and Russell did discuss paedophile murderers, but just not this one.
We used to discuss this sort of thing, as you can imagine, and he used to be adamant. He believed that child killers were a different breed completely from people who went around abusing children sexually. He thought they were far worse, and they shouldn't be called paedophiles, they should be called child killers. So I don't believe for 1 minute, Colin, that he would have done it.
So it's a bit surprising, though, that you would have discussions about the difference between a child killer and a paedophile, yet you would never speak about the Vishal case, which was obviously...
Because we didn't, I only saw it sort of in passing on the telly or read it in the newspaper or something. It wasn't something that loomed large in my mind. And the reason
Well, it must have loomed quite large in your mind. You decided to name a document after Vishal.
But remember what he said in episode 6.
I'd read all the stuff in the press, Colin. It was in the press constantly, that case.
So was
It was on the news, it was everywhere.
I've got as far as I can with Nicholas Douglas for now, and I think it's time to look further afield. Remember back in the meeting with Vishal's dad at his house, the police told him that they'd spoken to 3 of the men who'd been found guilty of the abuse at the school in the early 1980s. And they were essentially happy to believe they had no link to Vishal's disappearance, because that's what the men told them.
The 3 spoken to deny any knowledge of Vishal or his murder. All were contact offenders who groomed boys in their care. They had no need to abduct a child from the street, and there is no information or intelligence that suggests otherwise.
I just don't think this is good enough, and now that I'm making progress again, it's vital to speak to another of these offenders myself. Alongside Nicholas Douglas, his friend John Higgins was given a shorter but still substantial 8.5-year prison sentence for his part in the sexual abuse of children at the school. From what I understand, Higgins was a quieter character, happy to go along with things rather than instigating them like Douglas or James Russell did. I want to know what he can tell me. The men are not supposed to be in contact with each other, but one day Douglas lets something slip that suggests to me that he knows where Higgins is and makes it easier for me to find him.
So I'm driving to John Higgins' house. Higgins was convicted of a series of sex offences alongside the other offenders in 1998, and John Higgins has been described to me as the weak link in the group of offenders. I don't know if he'll let me in. I'm going to explain that I've got some documents that I need to show him, which is true, and I'm going to ask him for his help, which is true, because I'm hoping this man may have a bit of a conscience and a bit of a heart, and maybe Higgins wasn't like the others. Maybe he was pulled into this group of really nasty offenders. So I'm going to ask him and just hope, keep my fingers crossed, that he may crack.
John Higgins opens the door in his dressing gown and isn't thrilled to see me. I secretly record our conversation as it's becoming clearer that members of Douglas's group may know about further offences that weren't prosecuted.
Colin Campbell from BBC.
Oh,
Hey, how you doing?
fine, thanks.
Can you spare 5 minutes?
Well, not really, I'm not even dressed.
I can wait 5 minutes. I've got some very important questions that I need to ask you.
No.
My investigation's not going away, John.
I've been told not to.
Who's told you not to?
Please.
He says the police have told him not to speak to me.
I'd much rather talk to you for just 5 minutes,
I'm not even dressed.
indoors. It'd take 5 minutes. I'm happy to just shout questions out here, but I don't think that's what you want, really, because it's very sensitive. It would take 5 minutes of your time.
Well, come on then. I would not go out deliberately looking for the victim. I'm not that kind of person.
I understand that, but Jim Russell was the kind of person who would pick kids up off the street?
If it was anybody, it would be him, I think. Because I would think he's the type that he would approach kids on the street, and sometimes he was successful, taking them down to the toilet.
So you think that Jim Russell could have done it?
Well,
you use the word could have done it.
Could. Well, he was the type that would approach. I don't know whether he would commit murder. He wouldn't kidnap kids, I don't think. He might approach them and say, do you fancy something?
You are claiming that you know nothing about the abduction of Vishal Mehrotra, but you're suggesting that Jim Russell...
I'm suggesting that it had to be one of them, but he's more likely.
Higgins doesn't say much more, but the fact that he has singled out James Russell as the man in their group who might be capable of these sorts of actions feels significant. James Russell has always seemed an enigma to me, the fourth man, the one that got away. You may remember that 3 men went to jail in the mid-1990s for the abuse at the school. Nicholas Douglas, John Higgins and Thomas Logan. A 4th man, James Russell, was being investigated too, but he fled the country before the trial that put his friends behind bars. He disappeared into thin air 25 years ago, and no one seems to be able to find him. We know that he served a jail sentence for picking up kids who he didn't know off the street in his car and abusing them at his home. We know he lived in West London, and we know he visited Nicholas Douglas's mother's house in Sussex, where abuse happened, and which was just 12 minutes' drive from where Vishal's remains were discovered. And we know he was attracted to Asian boys. And now, no one can find him to ask him what he might know about Vishal's disappearance. Remember in the meeting with the family back in 2021, Sussex police told Vishal's father that they thought James Russell was resident in Asia. They said they were trying to track him down. At this time, now, only 3 of the 4 men have been seen. The 4th is believed to be resident in Asia and has yet to be traced. This has been tasked to our Force Intelligence Bureau. By this point in my investigation, it's been a year since they said that, and neither Vishal's family or I have heard anything further from them. I don't know how these things work in the police. Is a year enough time to follow this up? I call my former police detective contacts, Sean and Jackie.
I'd like to know what action they've actually done with regards to trying to track down Jim Russell, because they said they would.
They would, yeah.
Do you think that they could still be trying to find them, Sean, or do you think that...
It would be a message to Interpol, and it's probably just sitting on a list of words. So they will say, yes, we've done something, we've made a request. We're just waiting for a response. But you can do more than that. You can make yourself busy around it. And I would suggest they haven't bothered to do that. Do
you think a year is long enough for them to have done something, or do you think they could still be acting on it? No, I think that is long enough.
If the police can't find James Russell, then we're determined to do it ourselves. Over the next few weeks, me and the team trawl articles, social media, birth and death certificates, land registries and other document sources across Asia, the UK and around the world. We call in favours and speak to contacts from previous investigations. We get excited about a number of potential men who might be him. But there's always something that knocks them off our list. Wrong age, wrong nationality. We do everything we can think of, but James Russell is nowhere to be found. And then something extraordinary happens. A source contacts me. They need to remain anonymous, but what they tell me is a complete bombshell. It appears that a James Russell, the exact same age as the man we're searching for, is claiming a UK old age pension and has been doing so for years. He has an address abroad in Asia, registered with the Department for Work and Pensions. That address is in Sri Lanka. And most shocking of all, the source tells us that Sussex police have a record of this address in their files and have done for a long time, at least a decade. The implications are staggering. If this is true, Sussex police have had the details of a convicted child sex offender who fled the country while being investigated by them for the abuse at the school sitting in their files for years. But they've allowed him to remain at large, while also telling Vishal's family they have no real idea where this man might be. But before we can even begin to think about the scale of any of this, first things first, we need to check out who lives at the address in Sri Lanka. I'm just going to try and get the mouse working. Okay, so I've found the place on Google Street View. It's a whole house. It's quite nice looking, a bit dilapidated, surrounded by walls and a big metal gate down a narrow side road. It's located in a popular seaside resort on this tropical paradise island in the Indian Ocean, but this town also has a bit of a reputation as a magnet for Western paedophiles. Wow, just here, as I click further along the street, there's a middle-aged white man caught by the Street View cameras, looking straight into the lens. He's possibly too young to be James Russell, but yeah, kind of looks a bit like he would probably look. I mean, we've only got a picture of Jim Russell when he's in his late 20s, but this guy, yeah, it could be him. We get in touch with a fixer in Sri Lanka, and he goes to the house. There's no one there. He talks to the neighbours, who say that an old white British man lives there who teaches English. They say that he's asked for their children to go there for one-to-one lessons. Frustratingly, no one knows his name. He's just referred to in the local dialect as the white man. It certainly sounds promising, but not yet enough to justify the time and expense of me flying over from London. But a week later, our fixer's colleague, a young man, goes to the address with a cover story about wanting to learn English. I'm going to give the fixer a call now and just see how the conversation went with the guy, this old man who we think is Jim Russell. I understand you've done a job for us today. You've been to knock on the door of an elderly man. Can you tell me, please, what he said to you?
I knocked the door and the old guy come out and I asked him, can you help me to learn English?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, okay.
To be as fair as possible, we haven't told this fixer the name of the man we're searching for at the house. Was he suspicious of you?
No, he's very friendly talking with me. He said his name, what do you call it, the Jim, Jim. His name is Jim.
He said his name was Jim.
Jim, yeah.
That's really important for us. Did he tell you what his second name, what his surname was?
He didn't tell second surnames. I asked him his phone number also. He said, I can't give you the phone number.
And did you manage to get a photograph of Jim?
Yes.
You did?
Photograph.
That's brilliant. That's amazing. That's so helpful. That will enable us to try to work out if this is the man we are looking for. That's good news. We now know that the man living at the address is called Jim. He teaches English, which is fitting with the person we're looking for. That just sounds like Jim Russell. What we've got to now do is look at the photographs. Unfortunately, the photos that we've got of Jim Russell are from 40, 50 years ago. Back when we were trawling for any possible James Russell leads, we discovered someone whose parents had known him back in the 1960s. They'd sent us a small black and white photo they'd found of a sharp-featured, clean-shaven young man with a knowing smile. The photo our fixer sent to us of this man, Jim, that he's just met in Sri Lanka, shows an age-sunken face with a straggly beard. It might be the same person 50 years later, but I can barely tell. A tech-savvy colleague at the BBC recommends we contact a renowned facial recognition expert at the University of Bradford who's helped with identification before. His algorithm compares the bone structure and proportions on the old and new photos and gives a similarity index of 76%, which means there's a good chance they show the same individual. And so, we're faced with a choice, a leap of faith, to take an 11-hour flight across the world to try to ask an old man called Jim some questions, in the hope that it might finally give some answers about what happened to 8-year-old Vishal Mehrotra back in 1981. It's a risk, not least because if this is Jim Russell, he's still on the run from British police, who want to talk to him about the abuse of the school pupils. They've said they don't even know where he is, even though we understand this very address has been sitting in Sussex police files for years.
Sri Lankan Airlines current flight. This is bus passengers and special assistant passengers to
I was in such a scramble to get on the next available flight that it only dawned on me later that the day I'd land there would be incredibly poignant. Once out of the airport, hit by a wall of heat, I recorded my thoughts about it. It's the afternoon of July the 29th, 2022. It was at around this time, on this date, exactly 41 years ago, that 8-year-old Vishal Mehrotra was last seen alive near East Putney Underground Station in West London. But right now, on this afternoon which marks the anniversary of Vishal's disappearance, I'm around 5,500 miles away from East Putney Underground Station. I'm in Sri Lanka, and I've come here because I'm trying to track down a man who may have some answers as to what happened to Vishal. Okay, so I've just arrived in Sri Lanka, and my fixer very kindly has taken us on a very short recce to the property where Jim is living, the focus of our attention for the next couple of days. We drove down the lane, and as we drove down, he came out of the building with his arms folded, looking at our car, and he looked, highly suspicious of us driving past his property. So I dug down in the back of the car, and we drove past him. Anyway, so I've looked at the property. Fortunately, he's got a low fence, so if he does chuck us out, I'll still be able to try to talk to him over the fence. With my recce done, I returned the following morning. Hello. Good morning. My name's Colin. Is your dog friendly? The man in front of me is old. He has a white, straggly beard, and he's wearing only shorts and flip-flops in the heat. He has a slim frame, but his belly is distended and hanging over his shorts. It looks like he's just come out of the shower. I'm fully expecting that he'll slam his gate in my face and tell me nothing. So I'm trying to find Jim, the occupier. Are you Jim?
Jim Russell.
Jim Russell.
Yeah.
Jim, I've come from the UK because I've got some really important documents that I need to show you. I'm a journalist from the BBC.
Wow.
Yeah. We understand that you fled from the UK whilst you were on police bail, wanted for child sexual offences.
That's correct.
Like I said, I expected the door to be slammed in my face. What I didn't expect was that Russell would invite me in and let me openly record our conversation.
So police were investigating you, weren't they, for child sex offences at Muntham House School?
Did they arrest me? I think they arrested me.
Did you abuse any children who were attending Muntham House School?
Absolutely not. That's the point.
OK, well, I've spoken to survivors who say that you did abuse them. Now, the police want to talk to you and question you about the abduction and murder of a little boy, an 8-year-old schoolboy called Vishal Mehrotra.
Absolutely. You've got to be kidding. No, I really have no idea who he is. When was this?
Do you know anything about the murder or abduction of Vishal Mehrotra, Jim?
No, I don't. Absolutely, I really don't. It's the first time I've heard of it.
So you were abusing children at a property in Kew. Do you remember that, Jim?
No.
So where were you living in 1981?
God knows. 1981?
The summer of 1981.
I believe I was in India.
Can you remember where you were on the day of the royal wedding of Charles and Diana in 1981?
No, I don't really follow that. When did E.T. come out?
Probably around that time.
It was about that time, because then I was in India, because I thought, I'm going to have to see that.
Do you have any proof that you were in India on that day, Jim?
I don't know when I went to India. I don't know the date I went to India.
But you are a convicted child offender, aren't you? You sexually abuse children.
No. I don't, look.
So in 1977...
I'm not going to admit to that.
So
That's not fair.
Jim, in 1977 you went to prison, yeah?
I did indeed. 4 child sex offences.
How many children did you abuse?
That was for 4 children.
Okay, so you went to prison.
No, I went to prison. I took 3 kids off the street. They were sitting in a doorway, and I took them to my flat, and they stayed overnight, and I was charged with touching their leg.
At this point, it's clear to me that Russell isn't to be trusted, because I know that he absolutely didn't go to prison for touching boys' legs. He was convicted of indecent assault against minors, for which he was sentenced to 4.5 years in jail, and he had convictions before that. Also, the ET date doesn't help confirm where he was in 1981, because the film wasn't released until 1982, the year after Vishal was abducted.
Do you remember Nicholas Douglas providing you with a false reference?
Yes.
You were trying to get a job at a school in Maidstone, weren't you?
That's correct, yes.
And just once again, for the record, you say you had nothing to do with the abduction or murder of Vishal Mehrotra?
Absolutely nothing, and I never would have.
You didn't pick him up and take him down to Muntham House for Nick Douglas?
No.
You owed Nick Douglas a favour, didn't you, really?
No.
Because he provided you with a false reference and got arrested for that and had to pay a fine, and that caused him a big headache.
Yeah.
It's time to just tell the truth now, Jim.
No, it's not. I don't really.
Yeah, no, really. It's time to tell the truth. Okay? Because I'm speaking to Vishal's father, okay? He wants the truth. He's suffered for 40-odd years now. And it's time for somebody to tell the truth.
I agree. Right, but it's not me, I promise.
Do you have a sexual preference for boys of Indian heritage or boys who are darker skinned?
Yes.
You have an attraction to Asian children?
I believe they're as beautiful as anyone else. In fact, more so, because they're slimmer, yes. I haven't got a thing for them.
You're just sexually attracted to slim Asian children?
Slim kids.
But you admit you're a child sex offender, obviously, because you've been to prison.
Yes.
Are you still offending?
No, you can't. You put these names on it. It's just not fair. No, I'm not. Nothing works anymore.
It's hot, I'm sweating, and I'm wearing a jacket I can't take off because it contains a microphone transmitting to the team sitting outside in case my safety is threatened. And now, Russell wants to convince me that paedophilia is just misunderstood.
It seems that the whole world, especially in England, is eating itself up over something which is quite normal, usual, typical.
So do you think it is okay? You think
No, I don't think it's okay to abuse children. I think the attraction is with many, many people, many adults, and I believe, many children as well.
This is your chance, Jim. So I've spoken to one man who was a child who says you did sexually abuse him on a number of occasions. The man I've spoken to is adamant that you were the abuser. And this person that I've spoken to claims that you abused him as a child, that you picked him up from his home, took him to this address and sexually abused him.
Absolutely not.
So you're here in Sri Lanka. When you fled from the UK, where did you go?
Why do you use these terms?
Because you were on police bail. You were on police bail, so you did effectively flee from the UK, yeah?
Yeah, all right.
Jim, I've spoken to one of Nicholas Douglas's victims, and that man who has suffered a huge amount of trauma in his life has told me that Nicholas Douglas told him in 1981 that Nicholas Douglas told him that one of Douglas's friends had done something very, very bad. Did you do something very bad in 1981, Jim?
I wasn't there. As far as I know, I was not there.
Can you provide any proof for me on that?
I've got passports.
You think there could be a stamp in those passports?
You bet. I think so. I don't think I've got that far back.
Okay, I'll just stand outside.
Russell disappears into another room. I move round to make sure I'm closer to the exit door, just in case. But he comes back with a pile of old passports, which we leaf through together.
You're very extensively travelled, aren't you? How do you fund all of this?
What? Fund it?
Yeah. How can you afford to travel so much?
Economy. I'm receiving old age pension and that's it. And I only get £100 a week.
Can you live off that here?
Yeah. I'm here in Sri Lanka because I wanted to die in peace.
Have the police been in contact with you since you've been here?
No.
Does that surprise you?
No. The British police? Good God, no.
Nobody's contacted you from the UK?
No.
So you were teaching overseas because you couldn't get a job in the UK?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing in here, Jim, that suggests you weren't in the UK in 1981?
No, 1981, no.
The earliest is 1985 that says you were in Uganda in 1985. Yeah?
That's right.
I just have to ask you once again.
Mm-hmm. No, I did not kill this kid, whoever the hell he is. I don't know anything about it.
Had you heard of this case of Vishal Mehrotra?
I promise I haven't.
It's something that you would have known about, though, Jim, if you were in the UK, yeah?
Of course I would.
You don't want to make any admissions to any crimes that you've committed?
Christ, no! I have not committed any crimes in my book or your book. And I would have given my life to save that kid. You don't know how strong it is.
The urge that you have?
No! The protective urge. You don't understand anything about it, do you?
The next thing that happens totally blindsides me, because Russell then starts telling me that what he's done to children doesn't cause them harm.
You do not think that what you do to children seriously traumatises them as an adult?
No.
Because you're living in cloud cuckoo land if you think that what you're doing is helping them.
I might be in cloud cuckoo land.
You're in cloud cuckoo land.
All right.
You take advantage of children.
When?
Vulnerable children. Children are vulnerable. They're not adults. They can't make decisions about what happens to them.
I don't want to lecture on the morality of this.
Well, you suggested to me that you have a protective urge.
Yes.
And I would suggest it's not a protective urge, Jim. Jim, I'm done, okay? Thank you for talking to me. I am grateful. I disagree with a lot of what you've said, as you can probably imagine. I believe you're a dangerous man. I believe you're a safeguarding risk to children. Can you promise me that you won't have children around your house anymore?
No, I'm not going to be in prison. Do you mean to say pulling them in for sex? No.
You're a serious safeguarding risk. You shouldn't have access to children on your own.
Come on.
That's the truth, Jim.
You've got it wrong.
You'll
never realise it. God, how could I explain? You've got the wrong man, you've got the wrong kind of man. There isn't a bloke like me that would ever hurt a kid like that. But you are so right up the wrong tree. You pull in all the dirty bastards like me, and you think, yeah, if he does that, then he's going to do something else. You're so wrong.
Okay, well, I'm done. Thank you very much for talking to me. I get away from the house. As the golden beaches whiz past the car, I can't quite believe this is the man, James Russell, who's admitted that he's been on the run from British police for over 20 years, who's wanted for questioning over child sex offences, who's been living out his days in the sun, denying he's done anything wrong, travelling the world on a British passport whilst receiving a British pension, and Sussex police knew he was at this address. A man who I've been told was abusing a boy in West London around the time Vishal disappeared. A man who served jail time for driving around, picking up kids in his car and sexually abusing them. A man who's just told me in his comfortable house on a tropical island that he particularly likes young Asian boys because they're skinnier. When I leave James Russell's house, I notify the Sri Lankan National Child Protection Authorities that a man wanted by British police for questioning over child sex offences lives at the address. I head back to the UK, and it's only when I'm listening back to the tape from my trip afterwards that I notice something. I rewind it and play it again.
And I would have given my life to save that kid.
It is just extraordinary. I would have given my life to save that kid. It's such a bizarre thing to say about a child who you've just said you've never heard of, who was killed 40 years ago. For a few weeks, everything goes quiet. I continue investigating Vishal's disappearance. And then one night I get a call. It's from our fixer in Sri Lanka. He happened to be in the area and drove past James Russell's house out of curiosity. There was no sign of life. The place was closed up, the windows and gates all shut, a single bulb on in a room possibly for security, an unopened electric bill jammed in the door. When I saw him, Russell had given me a phone number. I call it now. But nothing. James Russell has vanished. I have a sinking feeling in my stomach. The passport stamps he showed me ranged across the world. At least 3 countries in Africa: Ireland, Turkey, India, Malaysia, Indonesia. I realise he could be anywhere. Our fixer makes calls in Sri Lanka. From a credible source, he finds out that the Sri Lankans have revoked Russell's residency. They've found out that he's overstayed his visa by a number of years and have requested that he leave the country immediately. And now he's on a flight back to Britain. Next time. My head's spinning. We always knew this was a race against time.
You cannot say that this is unsolvable until you've tried.
I've got a photograph of the person who was, I think,
driving.
I think that's him. I think that's him.
If you have any information, however minor, that you feel could help our investigation, please contact us confidentially at vishalpodcast@bbc.co.uk. In 2021, the Mehrotra family were told by Sussex Police that James Russell was yet to be traced, and that it had tasked its Force Intelligence Bureau to locate him. After we found James Russell, Sussex Police issued a statement. It said it had not been proportionate to send one of its own officers to Sri Lanka to find and question Russell. It said the evidential requirements to extradite him to the UK hadn't been met, so it had never been a viable option. The family had also been told there was no evidence the men had needed to abduct children from the street, but we'd discovered James Russell had a conviction for doing just that. Sussex Police told us they had not been referring to him, only the 3 men in the group they had managed to talk to. 40 years on, Muntham House has been recognised as a centre of excellence for its work with young people with special educational needs and is rated as an outstanding school. If you've been affected by child sexual abuse, help and support in the UK is available at bbc.co.uk/actionline. If you're listening outside of the UK, please contact support organisations in your country. Vishal is a BBC Studios podcast. It's presented and investigated by me, Colin Campbell. The series was written and produced by Satyesh Manharaja. Episode producer is Jolyon Jenkins. Episode sound design and mix by Arlie Adlington. Original music by Steve Urquhart. The executive producer is Alistair Jackson.